Well, we managed to get through a nice weekend across much of the Northeast. And while the weather still looks pretty good going forward, there are some complications that might show up down the road. And there might even be some short term issues regarding breathability. And we will talk about that. The tropics are getting a little busier, so we'll talk about that too. We'll peek into the long range. And that's all and much more. God knows what else we'll talk about here tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Shop on Amazon. If you shop on Amazon, just use our referral link that's pinned to the top of the chat board or is on the description of this podcast on YouTube underneath the title. Just search for your stuff, shop, and Amazon throws us a little bit of coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your pocket. That's the bottom line. And it also goes a long way in keeping the live version of this podcast free from commercial interruption. And I know that most of you like that. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is also on the descriptor to this podcast under the title on YouTube. Use that coupon code.
Oh, that was my cue?
Yes.
Summer 2025.
And if you do, you will get
10% off. I'm sorry.
And if you don't, you won't get
10% off.
There you go. I'm sorry, I threw you a curveball. I had a senior moment when I got to that point. It's like, is that my line or Joe's line? Anyway, I'm sure you had a lovely weekend.
It was okay.
For you, that
hello.
That is for you. That's an absolute rave.
What?
That your weekend was okay.
It was okay.
Okay. Yeah. Mine was good. Good. And it was even better today. You know why? Because it didn't get it did not get out of the 60s here today.
Oh my goodness.
It's been, it's basically been cloudy all day. We've had a little bit of light rain from time to time. But not even enough to make a hundredth. Yeah, it's a northeast wind that actually was gusty at times, like 20 to 25, and I did not get to 70 degrees, and that hasn't happened since probably back somewhere in late May or early June. I have to go back and check, but it was delightful in many respects.
Well, it's not like it used to be, Joe. I mean, like for example, we had lower humidity, but the northwest wind, which in past years would deliver us blue sky, brilliant sunshine, doesn't do that anymore. Doesn't do that. Now I hate northwest winds. You know why? Because it brings the smoke in here, and we are under some kind of an advisory for air quality alert and poor visibility because of smoke conditions, which especially has been plaguing the upper Midwest. So that's about the run of things here.
Well, and about that you mentioned that, I just brought up. I have a tight view of the East Coast on the satellite, and you can see it advancing southeastward. It's pretty thick across Michigan, Lakes Erie and Ontario, and much of upstate New York. And yeah, it's kind of sunk southward again, and that's going to be a problem for tomorrow. It is going to make things, unfortunately, it is going to make things rather hazy, even though the dew points are down where you kind of want them to be this time of year. But you're right, with these wildfires that have been going on, in the last several years, but this year it seems like it's. I don't know. Not that there's more of them this year. I think last year there was more with respect to the extent of the fires, but we're getting these weather fronts coming through, and that's going to, bring down, some of the smoke up from northern Canada. We have to wait for it to go away.
And probably that won't happen until the fall. Till then, The fires and the smoke just keep smoldering, if you will, over northern and northwestern Canada. And again, every time we get the flow coming out of the northwest, it funnels that right toward the northern tier of the United States.
And meanwhile, also on the satellite, what is also standing out a bit, and I'm going to get, let's redraw this, is low pressure that's developed on the old frontal boundary. Uh, this is there have been a couple of waves on this boundary, but this is the last one of the bunch. And if you ask me, it looks to me like this is, if it's not a tropical storm already, it's very close to it. It's got that signature look. You've got the feathering of clouds going on to the northwest, and there's convection because I've got the lightning strikes, the satellite with the lightning strikes on it, and you can see there's quite a bit of convection, even and also going on near where the center might be. So I would expect to see the Hurricane Center upgrade this to something and give it a name. If not, we're going to get a new outlook in the next 15 minutes or so. If they don't do it now, I'm guessing they're going to do it overnight or early tomorrow morning.
Well, August now is the month where tropical cyclone activity begins to start to rev up. And of course, the traditional peak of the hurricane season is now just over a month away on September the 10th. So we'll be seeing more and more of this as we progress through the coming days and weeks.
Yes, we will. And going back to what's going on with me, you can see all the clouds in the southeast, and the thing that we have going on here is you got this high sitting up in Pennsylvania, so we've got this northeast wind, and they refer to this down here in the southeast as quote unquote the wedge, where the high wedges in against the Appalachians. You get a northeast wind, and it creates cloud cover, and it also creates, in many instances, rain. Depending on, sometimes it could be set up for a heavy rain, and in parts of Georgia that is going to be the case. But right now, at least where I am in North Georgia, north of Atlanta, it's more the clouds than anything else, and just a few drops of rain. But this is going to hold on for a couple of days. I don't think Atlanta got much above the low 70s today. And that comes after a stretch where they've been routinely going to the middle 90s. So that's been a big relief. In fact, you have to go pretty far. You have to go down into the Florida Panhandle before you get into anything resembling 80s today.
Now, before we continue on this, I just literally in the last few moments, received an email from Bob Harris. And I know
Oh, breaking news.
a lot of people I know have been um, asking about whether or not we could get Bob to come on and interact with either us or on the Legends page. So I'm looking at this for the first time, and I had emailed him a few days ago, and I had also included a picture of my grandson Julian to give him an up-to-date look as to what's going on in my life. So I'm going to read this to you, and again, I'm just seeing this now, and I'm reading this now for the first time. This came in at 7:30 and 28 seconds, and that's what, about 15 minutes ago, and I just literally opened my email, and here it was. So let me read it to you. It says, "Hi Joe, very nice to see that life is good for you these days. A lovely grandson to add to your lovely family, and projects in your professional life seem very positive. Meanwhile, I am navigating my way through my mid 80s these days, remaining rather active as a volunteer as an art museum docent, lecturing about astronomical topics with assistance from a local chapter of the Astronomical Society down here, as well as playing jazz piano. Now, some of you may remember that occasionally on Pix 11, when he was on Pix 11 doing the weather, Bob would play the piano while he was doing the forecast, and he was actually a member of the local musicians union going back into the 1960s. In fact, he used to play at a place called Birdland in Manhattan. So, and he was a very good pianist, and I'm sure he still is today. Anyway, he says, I'm still playing jazz piano with some of the wonderful musicians in our area. By the way, I'm so pleased that you still make reference to our initial meeting some 52 years ago when you came and visited me at the WOR Weather Center. I'm very flattered by your invitation to appear on one of your podcasts, but at this time, I'm staying pretty close to home these days. But thank you very much for thinking of me. Stay well, good friend, and continue enjoying your blessed life. Warmest regards, Bob Harris.
Oh,
So,
that's very nice.
so Bob said he's flattered by the invitation, but at the moment he wants to stay pretty close to home, and he doesn't want to, I guess, uh, go on social media. But if something does break, certainly I hope that he'll consider coming on one of these fine days. But so now all of you know that yes, Bob is still active. He's still around. He's down in Florida, and at the moment, at least, he prefers that he wants to keep his life private and not interact with us. I will agree to his request, and sure, Joe, you also understand, the situation down there with him.
No, I totally get it. Totally get it, and I wish him all the best as well. Now, Joe, I would just say leave your email open because maybe Joe Whitty will respond to your email.
I could tell. He's next on the list.
It's been what, two? Is it 2 years or 3 years since he said that he would get back to you?
Uh, well, the funny thing is, I posted on Facebook a few times over the last couple of years, and he's either given me a thumbs up or maybe he just forgot. It's possible when you get up there in
People
years.
do have lives. I get it. I don't know. I totally get it. I mean, people do have lives.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I can only contact these people and ask them, but you got to respect what they want to do. And occasionally, Bob Harris does not want to at the moment interact. But who knows? Maybe sometime down the road he'll change his mind. And I will get back to Joe Whitty about possibly coming on Joe and Joe in the next day or two. So
All right. We just want to get back to this, the Hurricane Center, because we do have the 8 o'clock outlook, and the Hurricane Center has acknowledged that the low that is producing gale force winds off east of the North Carolina coast, and it appears that the system is becoming separated from the frontal boundary to its north and west. So if the shower and thunderstorm activity persists, the low would continue to acquire tropical characteristics, with a tropical storm likely to form later tonight or on Monday, while the system continues to move to the east northeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour. And that is what it's going to do. I mean, I do have these are the hurricane model tracks here, and you can see they all are pretty much either east northeast or northeast, just passing well south of Nova Scotia, well south of Newfoundland, and then on its merry way into the open waters of the Atlantic. We also do have a tropical wave that is going to be moving off the African coast on Monday, and then some gradual development of this is possible. Some of the models are picking up on this down the road. They've got a 0% chance in the next 2 days, but a 40% chance that this could develop in the next 7. And then also we want to point out that there is probably going to be another low that's going to try and form off the southeast coast later this week. And the Hurricane Center is also acknowledging that and mentioning that this one could form a few hundred miles off the southeast coast, with gradual development of the system possible during the middle or latter part of this week as this system drifts to the west or west-northwest. This is something, Joe, just looking at what some of the models did, and they're kind of picking it up in different ways, some sooner, some later. Um, this is something that we might want to pay attention to once we see if it gets going. This might be something we might want to pay attention to down the road because of how things are going to be setting up along the East Coast and later this week and going into this weekend. The other thing I would just mention is that it's awfully hard. Anytime I see when WPC, and it's through no fault of theirs, but it just seems to happen. It's very hard to string together more than 3 or 4 days without some kind of weather system producing something, whether it's just a couple of scattered showers or something more numerous. And, I was looking at all of this late last week thinking, you know what, we may not see a drop of rain for 8 or 9 days if the models are right. And sure enough, if you look today, uh, there are hints that maybe some of this moisture that's in the south is going to try to sneak up the coast to some extent. Maybe some kind of low forms off the southeast coast late this week and tries to sneak up. None of that's guaranteed, but it would not shock me if we suddenly go from a spot where we're looking at what appeared to be 7 or 8 days where the weather was going to be pretty much tranquil, to maybe not going 7 or 8 days with tranquil weather.
Yeah, sometimes and you got to be careful in the summertime because that has happened to me, especially in the early days, my early part of my career. You go out and you promise 5 straight or 7 straight days of dry weather, and oh, there's nothing on the map that even suggests that we can get into trouble. And all of a sudden, 2 days later,
There's
what
something
happens?
on the map. Yes.
There's something on the map. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. Hope your weekend was a good one. And to those of you lurking in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we welcome you too, because we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's some kind of storm system around, in which case we will notify you. And the best way to stay in touch is to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. So, looking at the watches and warnings, one thing that stands out, and we showed this earlier, the smoke. We are now seeing areas up in New England, upstate New York, and even in downstate New York with some counties in air quality alerts. Northern Pennsylvania, much of Michigan, northern Indiana, northeastern Illinois, all of Wisconsin, the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, and back to Minnesota. And this is good. This high is going to kind of linger around a bit. We do the one thing that might change, though, is that as we get into Tuesday and beyond Tuesday, is that another high is going to build in eastern Canada, and that's going to turn the flow a little bit more onshore. And I'm wondering, I haven't really looked closely at the upper air, which we will take a look at in a little bit. I wonder if that will ease the smoke issue.
Well, the worst of the smoke, the worst of the forest of the wildfire activity in Canada is in a region just north of Edmonton and then points east. That's where the smoke and the fire activity is particularly heavy or severe. And in fact, Joe, on some of the forecast models that I look at, it actually shows the smoke pushing first northward rather than southeastward toward us. And then as it gets northward, then it kind of stops and then gets caught in an upper airflow that then swings it and sends it on
Back south.
to the south, back south and east. So, but if you think it's bad here, and it really isn't all that bad, but I saw a video from Chicago and from Minneapolis where the smoke was particularly thick and dense. If you think it's bad here, you really ought to go up into Canada and in the general range where the activity is really heavy or really thick. I'm sure that there the sun must look like a red cherry in the sky because the smoke is so thick. And while there was, up in that area, while, earlier on in the summer and late spring, there was quite a bit of precipitation falling to kind of dampen everything down. It quite obviously now things have dried out considerably. I don't know if they're in a drought because the drought monitor does not extend up into Canada, but it obviously must have gotten very dry, and some of the forests up there must be like a tinderbox. All you need is just light a flame or get a few ashes in the wrong spot, and boom, you're in a fiery situation. So that's probably what we're looking at, and it's sad. It really is sad because, as I said, for all of these years in the summertime, we would look forward to seeing a flow of air from the north and west, from central Canada. Now, the way things have been for the last several summers, it seems that if you get a flow from central Canada, this is what you're going to end up getting: a thick plume of smoke.
I'm trying to see. Rich Rothmansky suggested there's a smoke map here. Here we go. Vertically integrated near surface smoke density on the HRRR model. So I'm going to go back to the 18Z run because that'll carry us through to 48 hours. And I also will use the closer geography. So let's look at the Northeast. It's actually more than just the Northeast because it goes back to Ohio. And let's take a look at what this is showing. So just give me a moment here so I can set up the loop, and then we can look at it that way. And all right, so uh, the yellows, I'm guessing off the scale here, um, it goes from 0 to 200. I'm not sure what it's measuring here, but the yellowish areas that you see in upstate New York, the yellow and browns, that's like in the 30 to 40% range. Well, like so from roughly 25% to 25 to 40. Again, it doesn't say here uh, exactly what it's the density of it. Okay, so we could look at this, and I'll just run it through. This is overnight, and now we're into tomorrow morning. You see, it's moving southward on Monday, and then you start to get into it during the day on Monday. Looks heavier across Pennsylvania, southern New York, southern Connecticut, northeast up to about Boston. Then there's a bit of a gap where it's much less, and then it picks up again when you go into far northern New York, northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine. So that's on Monday evening, and then it shrinks going into Tuesday, but kind of lingers a bit, particularly in upstate New York, but not nearly as intense. So that's what the HRRR is telling us here. And there's something called vertically integrated smoke. I'm not exactly sure what that is either. So we'll take a look at this. Also from the HRRR. I'm sure it's going to be something similar. This is overnight. Here we go tomorrow morning. Then during the day tomorrow, where it actually shows it getting pretty far south into Virginia. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use from the standpoint of a forecast. And then it goes to Tuesday afternoon. It's still hanging around. So, bottom line is, we're going to have this issue for the next couple of days.
Oh, well, I guess we're just going to have to live with it, and we'll see or when we're going to have to hope for some breaks from this. As I said, probably going to be sometime in the autumn once pardon me here, once the wet weather resumes up in Canada to help tamp down that wildfire activity.
Flood watches are up for much of Georgia and eastern Alabama down into the Florida Panhandle. And there's potential for heavy rain here, for the next 3 days. We've got one severe thunderstorm watch up in the southwest corner of Kansas. Then I think one of those counties might actually be under a tornado warning right now. And I've got the full U.S. satellite view. You can see the lightning strikes there from the storms in Kansas. I'm going to give it a quick refresh here. I might have to switch views because it's not the U.S. loop doesn't seem sometimes the for the lightning density it doesn't load or it just like stops for a while. So I want to make sure I got the latest pictures here. So I'm going to switch over to the standard visible satellite. And yeah, the GO's doing the circle of death. So you know what? I'm going to come back to it in a second when it's done. In the meantime, on the radar tonight, clearly nothing from Maine to Virginia. We got some areas of heavy rain in Georgia along I-85 and to the east of Atlanta and going. Actually, that's not I-85. I take that back. I-85 is that line that goes from Atlanta northeastward into western South Carolina. This is I-20, I think, that is going eastward there, and you see some heavier rains in and around Augusta, perhaps, and then on the South Carolina side, and even into North Carolina, We've got some light to moderate rain there, some moderate to heavy rain in South Georgia from east to west, including a couple of flash flood warnings, and then some heavier thunderstorms on the far western part of the Florida Panhandle back over into southern Alabama. Meanwhile, here's the stuff that's going on in Kansas. And you can see there's a cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings there. There must have been a tornado warning, but it went away. And here's the loop. And yeah, there's some empty frames there. So clearly the GOES folks are having a bit of a problem. And we've got a little bit of showery weather going on and even a few thunderstorms and a little bit of severe weather in parts of Oregon. Those are moving northeastward, eventually to come on out the other side into Idaho. Storm Prediction Center, slight risk from West Texas northward into southeast Colorado and a small portion of southwest Kansas. So that's where the box is. Otherwise, no thunderstorms are forecast for much of the east, the Ohio Valley, and back over into the Great Lakes. Tomorrow, there's no severe, other than marginal risk zones, Joe. There's really not much happening from the land of severe weather. The western plains to the northern Rockies are in a marginal risk tomorrow. Wednesday, it's the Dakotas for the most part, and still showing no thunderstorm activity Tuesday into Wednesday. But they do show a little risk of general thunderstorms for northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, because there's probably a weak front that's dropping southward with that next high building in to eastern Canada. But I don't think you're gonna see any shower or storm activity from that.
No, I think it's going to be basically dry weather from here right on through at least midweek and maybe even beyond.
Right, depending on what happens in the southeast.
Right, exactly.
All right. WPC, yesterday they had no rain for 7 days, but now they've got a tenth to a quarter of an inch reaching up to about New York City. But you can see where the heavy stuff is. The inch and a half plus uh, covering South Carolina, several inches or more over much of the state of Georgia to the Florida Panhandle, and that's with this old stall frontal boundary and then whatever other low that we're going to get to develop there maybe later this week. Also across the northern plains into the northwestern Great Lakes, where we're looking at anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half, and then some patchy rains down through the plains into Texas. Nothing much going on out in the west in the Rockies. So I'm going to go to the upper air first so we can take a look at what's going on here with respect to the things upstairs. The northwest flow from Canada, we're kind of really the strongest part of that flow is north of the Canadian border in New York and New England. A trough is lifting out of from Labrador. That's going to lift up. Our upper air winds are going to become more westerly on Tuesday to some extent. There's some troughing from Chicago down to Louisiana. The big heat ridge is down in New Mexico, West Texas, and down into Mexico itself, and that's kind of staying there. And there's probably going to be a tendency for some troughing here in the east, in the Appalachians down to the Gulf states. And this is why we'll probably have to watch for some kind of low that may try to develop off the southeast coast, because that trough is going to linger. That troughing is going to linger around into the weekend. Longer term, there's some ridging that's going to try to build into the east early next week, only to eventually give way to maybe a flow from Canada for a day or two. But it seems like the westerlies are pulling up into Canada for a little while. And the wild card in all of this is if anything from the tropics tends to that will try and fire up. I think that to me is where the wild card is.
Well, a couple of weeks ago we were getting excited, or at least some of us were getting excited about the fact that the flow was a beautiful northwest flow with much cooler, drier air. We did eventually get into that. It was not as dramatic as was depicted, let's say, 10 days or 2 weeks ago, but we did get our share of lower humidity, and now it looks like basically we're going to be looking at above normal temperatures for the next week or 10 days, or maybe even beyond that. And it also looks like we may have to be dealing with some occasional shower activity, maybe not immediately, but maybe sometime down the road. So I guess you could say when you think about August, it's fairly typical. You got very warm temperatures and a bit of humidity and a bit of precipitation to deal with, probably mostly of the showery kind or maybe convective kind. And that's again what we're looking at for the next couple of weeks.
The temps tomorrow might get well up into the 80s,
It may very
depending
well.
on how hazy it is.
Yeah. Again, we should be thankful that it appears from what we just saw, what you showed on the forecast from the HRRR, for example, that we're going to get into some smoke. We are into some smoke, but it's nowhere near the severity of the places that are to our north or to our northwest, where, again, it appears it's going to be a much thicker variety of smoky condition, hazy conditions.
The low, oh, I don't know what I did here. Hold on a second. What did I do? Hold on a second. I got to close a window. Um, Okay. The Europeans actually showing that low offshore, and you can see it just marches along to the northeast. You still have this wedge into the southeast where you're seeing showery rains and some heavy rains in some places in the southeast and south. Tries to move northward, but you can see there's also a nice another 1030-ish high in eastern Canada. That's going to hold for a while late this after Tuesday, so we still could be on the warm side on Tuesday. The dew points are not going to be able to come up because we're not getting a flow coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. We're not getting a flow coming up the eastern seaboard from the Atlantic. It's more going to be eventually an easterly flow, particularly as we get into Wednesday. And that's when we may see the temperatures come down a bit. And we'll just have to watch to see what this southern moisture does. You can see the European tries to lift it up Wednesday afternoon, even getting some showers into southeastern Pennsylvania. And actually, the European has some moisture coming into North Jersey and the Hudson Valley Wednesday night into Thursday, or Thursday morning, even though the high is up there. So, but I'm going to reserve judgment on this because that could all wind up drying up as it moves northeastward. On the other hand, the European also is showing lower than normal pressures off the southeast coast, and late this week it does form some kind of a low east of the Florida coast on Friday. We've got that nice high sitting over in uh, the Catskills. Looks like that's where the high is centered. So I think the dew points actually will still be pretty reasonable at the end of the week. And it's hard to see. The model kind of has the lower pressures there. It really doesn't do much with it. The GFS, on the other hand, so we'll bring that up. The GFS wants to spin up that low, and let me roll this back. On the old run, it wanted to spin the low up and move it up the coast late this week. Now it's taking it more into the southeast and sort of leaving it there. So it kind of matches up more like the European than the GFS. And then it's got another tropical system that could be that wave that's moving off the African coast on Monday, which it takes it to the west and tries to bring it into the Bahamas and eventually into Florida as a hurricane. But on the other hand, the European on the Atlantic view recurves it out at 50. So you've got models doing various things. I think we're going to see various solutions in the next several days for with all this stuff going on. So the best approach, I think, is to punt, and we will wait till tomorrow and to Tuesday to see if we can come to getting a better feel on what might happen down the road.
And it'll be interesting to see whether or not some of the data which has been taken away from NOAA and the Hurricane Center by the various officials in recent days and weeks, whether or not that will have a significant say or factor in accuracy, forecast accuracy, and whether or not we see some unusual oddities take place in the coming days and weeks when it comes to hurricane forecasting, especially when hurricanes are on the map and they're close to the mainland. And we'll see what all we can do is just wait, watch, and observe.
Correct. And on that note, I think you have Griller Jeopardy today.
Yes, I do, and I'm going to pull it up right now. Hold on for a moment. Ba, 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 ba. I have to go to switch now and come here and go there. And here we go. Um, Here is Brother Jeopardy for Sunday night, tonight. What 10 states, what 10 states since 1851 have experienced the most hurricanes? And he has baseball rules applying here. So that means that three strikes and you're out.
Okay. Um,
So which 10 states since 1851 have experienced the most hurricanes?
well, our first guest tonight comes from Jason Fox, who picks the state of Florida.
It would be surprising, wouldn't it, if I said no, it's not on the list. Yes, it is
Right.
on the list. It is on the list.
Um, let's see. James Davison has Texas.
Texas, Florida, and Texas on this list. I don't know whether or not it's in terms of importance or not, but Florida and Texas were one and two on this list.
Anthony has North Carolina.
North Carolina is there.
Okay. John M has Louisiana.
Louisiana is number three on the list.
Okay. Um, Now, you see, the funny thing is, so Alabama and Mississippi both have very limited coastlines. So I'm not sure if those are going to be there or not. But I'm just going to continue with what everybody is putting here. Well, Norm Roberts suggests Florida. I'm sorry, suggests Alabama.
Alabama is indeed on the list.
Okay.
Yes.
Harold Olson. How many do we have so far?
We have five. We've got 5 out of 10.
Okay, and Harold Olson says South Carolina.
South Carolina is there as well. That's number six.
Okay. Well, you've got there's not that many states. To get 10, we're gonna get most of these. So I'm sorry. Read the question again.
Since 1851, which 10 states have experienced the most hurricane activity?
Hurricane activity.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, which I'm assuming that this means which 10 states have had the most landfalling hurricanes.
Landfalls. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that I'm asking the question because a few people are putting in like Harold Olson puts Tennessee, which is obviously it's not a coastal state. But I wasn't sure whether we were talking about landfalls or are we talking about, remnant tropical storms and tracks over other states. So let's
Well,
move on.
David Daniel or Daneo
Close.
says Massachusetts, and I would say, off the top of my head, I'd say that's a pretty good choice because Cape Cod and Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard stick right out there in the ocean. But amazingly, Massachusetts is not on the list.
Rich Rothmansky says Georgia. Now Georgia only has the Atlantic coastline where Savannah is, but my guess is that very few storms. Very few storms have made landfall there.
That may be true, but Georgia is number seven on this
See,
list.
so I'm thinking in terms of tracks that even after they've gone inland, it matters. So, so let's move on. If Alabama's there, let's check. Let's bring on Mississippi.
Mississippi is number eight. Yep.
So we got what, two left?
Yes, only two left.
Norm Roberts says Virginia.
Virginia makes it nine. Now, what is
All
the
right. So if
10th
we keep
state?
moving up the coast, so the next state up, and this was suggested by Frank Scalera, he's got Delaware.
Delaware is a good guess, but it's not on the list.
Okay, so then the next state from Frank Scalera is New Jersey.
New Jersey, I would certainly figure would be on the list, but believe it or not, it's not.
Okay. Well, then we have Southern New England. Well, I'm going to take my own personal guess. Let's go off the grid here. I think somebody else, Joe Gaffney, said Maine.
Maine would be another good guess. Like I said, in the same case as um, Massachusetts, eastern Maine, like Eastport, Maine, sticks out in the ocean. But it, unfortunately, for this particular game, is not on the list.
So I'm sorry. So we have two states left.
One.
One. Okay. Well, if it, you know, I mean, for New York, all you have is Long Island. So let's try. I mean, we're basically moving our way up the seaboard. So New York, is it there?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Let me
So New
read the
York
list.
was number 10.
So let me read it down the list in order. Florida, Texas, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, New York, and number 10 was Virginia.
All right. Well, that's not. That was very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
It was fascinating, Joe. It was absolutely fascinating. So, um, all right. I'm
Nova
talking.
Scotia is not a state, Frank.
Nova Scotia
Frank,
isn't.
Frank Scaletta
No,
says,
Nova
"What about Nova
Scotia is a
Scotia?"
state of mind. It's not a state. Okay. Yeah. I'm doing two things at once. I'm talking to you and I'm talking to Bill Goodman on Messenger. He wanted me to check the AI European, which I'm going to try to do here if I can find a surface map that I could look at. Uh,
Oh yeah, especially check out 360 hours. I
okay.
wasn't I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you're looking now,
Oh, there it is. Let's see. Well, we might as well show it to everybody. So why keep it a big secret? So let's take a look. I don't. I tell you the truth. I have not really looked very much at the European AI. So I'm not, or at least I did in the wintertime, and then I sort of backed away from it. It seems like trying to figure out whether the model has some kind of bias of some sort, one way or the other. And I'm seeing that the AI does have something way down the road, going into the Bahamas by 360 hours. Um,
right,
okay, which is
August
a little,
18th.
yeah. But yeah, there seems to be just a lot of solutions in all sorts of different directions. Might as well look at the Canadian since we got that up. Let's see if that did anything. So there's the Africa wave. The Carolina low goes out to the east. The Africa wave, it just kind of well, it sort of loses it. Then it takes it basically west northwest between not too far from Bermuda by 240 hours. Doesn't really develop it very much, and it doesn't have much going on. In terms of it has a little something, sort of a hint of something off the southeast coast on Thursday night that it tries to drag northward up the coast, which is I think something that the GFS did earlier. But again, there's just too much. There's too much going on, too much noise in the models to get a real grip on what may or may not happen down the road. So we're not going to answer these questions tonight. So at this point, I think it's time we say good night. Don't you think?
I think so. It was an interesting evening. Again, we answered the Bob Harris question and talked a lot about tropical cyclones, and hopefully we'll have a better handle on that such subject. Maybe not necessarily tonight, but in the days to come.
Okay, and we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, however few hours that are left of it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Night night.